Today we have the 2023 Genesis Electrified G80. For one, this G80 is so similar to the regular gas G80 that you might not even tell the difference if you didn't know. The biggest thing is we don't have a real open grille right here because you don't need it. Otherwise, everything looks pretty much the same. There's just a few drawbacks that I'll talk about. In this review, we'll take a full detailed look at the exterior, the nice plush interior, and get it out on the road for a test drive and see how this EV drives. Welcome everyone, let's take a look at the exterior details of this Electrified G80. So I do have a gas Sport Prestige model if you want to see all the details on that. But this EV model is still very similar, so you'll see a lot of similarities, and it's actually based off of the Prestige trim level. So going to be similar. Up front, you'll notice no grille. I mean, you just got this design over the grille. You actually have the charging door built in over here and the sensor built in right there. So it's kind of a dark, non-glossy spot right there. And you're gonna get LED headlights standard, a big old Genesis logo, LED daytime running lights, and LED turn signals. Now this one is with the Halosan green paint. It's an optional paint. You've got that big blinker on the side. And being an EV, wheels are gonna matter. You've got 19-inch wheels right here. They don't look like anything real dramatic like some Tesla wheels, but 19-inch wheels on this model. Dimensionally, this is a pretty big car. It's 196.7 inches long. So it is definitely luxury sedan-esque with this design, this overall length, and kind of a fastback design coming to the back over here. What do you think of the overall looks? Genesis also gives us LED taillights with an LED turn signal in the same design that you get up front. Kind of a fast sloping rear end back here. Overall, looks very similar. Your neighbors aren't going to know that you're driving an EV. Now, as you probably knew, Genesis gives us the hands-free smart activated trunk. So if you stand by it with the key fob, it's going to automatically open up. This is called the smart trunk feature, and you can turn it off or on. If you don't, you have a button right next to the rear view camera that you can push. You can also push this to shut it as well. But you lose some space back here. So let's take a look at that. One thing to keep in mind with this smart trunk is a lot of times I will come from behind the vehicle where I park in order to get to it, and just walking around the back of the vehicle, it will beep once or twice. It doesn't ever open, but it just beeps a couple times because it thinks you're there and it's ready to open it. Something to keep in mind. Now a closer look at the cargo space right here. This electrified version definitely loses some. As you can see, that big old hump right there. It's kind of crazy. It really shrinks the overall floor space too. So if you're going to be carrying a lot of suitcases and stuff, keep that in mind because it does impede the space quite a bit. Now one thing is underneath of here, you've got some extra storage. You've got a tire inflator kit. You don't actually get a spare tire, but you can take this styrofoam piece out and have some open storage here too. For reference, this is a pretty solid and big backpack. Swallows up this, or takes up quite a bit of space in this car, I should say. But you do have an opening right there to where you can shove some things through there, so skinny items could be okay. The one thing I would like to see added is maybe a couple of hooks for grocery bags or slinging a, tying something down. You get a couple fixed tie downs, just no actual movable hooks. Now, Genesis gives us the smart key standard. You've got a lot on here. You can open up your trunk. You've got remote start on here, which is nice since it's especially electric. You can turn your headlights on, and you've got the remote smart park assist. So the way the sensors work, you've got this little dimple right there to lock it. You've got power folding mirrors. Then you've got a sensor in the back to unlock it, just like that, a touch sensor. The only thing is that we don't have it on the back doors, even on a luxury brand like this. And obviously, with remote start on the electric car, nobody hears anything, but it's gonna run for you. The other cool thing is the remote smart park assist. You can move in or out of a parking spot just by pressing and holding the button. There you go, car's driving itself. Now climbing inside of the Genesis, we've kind of got a mouthful with these seats. So not only do they look nice, this nice light creamy color, they also feel pretty nice, and they've got a ton of different controls on them and big bolsters on the side, which are adjustable. Let me show you all the adjustments. So a couple different things here. We've got thigh extension down here. We've got four-way lumbar support over there. You can move this dial to make the bolsters squeeze in or out, and you can have them automatically do that when you change drive modes too. Then you got your regular height and tilt adjustments on here as well, and this one is pretty cool. It's this thing called ergo motion. You can have it run for a certain amount of time. It basically, they call it like lumbar and pelvic stretching, to where it will kind of expand the lumbar, like little rolls on your butt, different things like that to make you kind of have a massage, but also be more comfortable on extended trips or if you're in the car for a while. So it's nice that they offer that, and you can turn that on just by pushing that button. The other thing we have is power door closure. Just let it latch a little bit and it'll automatically pull itself shut. The steering wheel is also power tilt and telescoping, and it goes with the memory settings, which you have over here on the door. You got 2 position memory settings, automatically moving your seat or your steering wheel, and this is leather wrapped and heated. The only complaint I've really had in this Genesis, there's 2 little things. I feel like the headrest is a little bit far forward. A lot of new cars are like that. It's for safety reasons, but I feel like it's just a little bit intrusive. The other thing is I feel like I can't sit low enough in this car, as low as I like to sometimes, to where when I turn around it feels like the roof of the car is just too low. And I'm only 5'9", so it's a little bit interesting. Now hopping into the back seat, it's a nice place to be. Definitely not the same as the G90 and not quite as spacious as you might expect. One nice thing is you've got these manual shades on the side here. You've still got the same nice soft material that you do up in the front seats and a little storage area. So behind myself at 5'9", I talked about how I can't get the seat as low as I want, at least relative to the front of the car. And as a backseat passenger, I can't even hardly slide my toes underneath of that. So that's annoying. Leg room is still pretty good though. And these little seat back pockets are actually firm, which is kind of cool. But the rest of this interior is definitely nice. So pop this open. We've got a couple of cup holders. You've got a button to run the rear shade up or down. Then inside of here, we've got a couple of USB ports. You've got an extra little storage slot. This is also softly lined. You can even control this seat. So if you're sitting behind the passenger, you can push these buttons and say, get the heck out of the way. I want to stretch my legs out, and give yourself some more leg room. We also have our own climate controls back here. So this is a 3-zone system total, at least for the back and the front. Fan speed, climate control, temperature, all of that. In fact, from the back seat, you can even open this up and get to the trunk. And sitting up tall with my hat, I can feel the roof. You know, it's a little bit uncomfortable, so keep that in mind for your rear passengers. As of right now, we don't have the heated seats in this particular model, but that last one, that Sport Prestige I showed you, had the heated rear seats. So if passenger space and cargo space are important to you, you lose some with this EV version. Just keep that in mind. All right, y'all, let's take a quick look at the interior of this G80. So push button start is right there. It is super silent. It will say ready down there on the bottom right when it's ready to go and it's turned on, because you don't hear a thing. Coming over to the door, we've got soft materials up here, really unique trim piece along here. Nice finish on all of these buttons and the door handle. Everything has a nice kind of metal finish to it. Good grab handle, soft around your armrest, and a little space for your armrest here. This is all soft and looks nice. Not much of a bottle holder. You have to kind of lay something flat in there. When you look at things compared to the regular G80, it looks pretty much the same. So this steering wheel, I'm not a huge fan of this steering wheel. I honestly prefer Genesis's just big spoke going across, because I like to have my hands down here sometime, and it's not big enough to be able to fit my fingers through there. You still got the spoke here. You've got comfortable grips up above, and it's leather wrapped and heated as well. One thing you'll notice compared to the regular Genesis is we have regeneration paddles. So these are not paddle shifters. They actually change the amount of regeneration and how you can get to one pedal driving, which I'll show you in the test drive. All the switch gear and buttons on here, everything looks pretty nice and is easy to use. So overhead, Genesis gives us a nice fully digital cluster. It looks a lot like you know, an analog cluster as well. You can change the information in the middle, so it doesn't really, it's not quite as extravagant as some fully digital clusters, but there's still a good amount of information that you can see on here. You can toggle through things using the steering wheel, and you can change the way the gauges look depending on your drive mode or messing around in your main display. Genesis also gives us a head-up display right there, which will even show you your blind spots, your radar cruise control, all that good stuff. Then coming over to the middle, we get a 14.5-inch screen with the Lexicon premium audio system for 21 speakers, and it does sound nice in here. But take a look at this, just a sleek little screen right there, laid in with this nice soft dash and this visible stitching. So you can touch the screen, it is quite a ways away, or you can use a command controller down below, which I'll show you in a second. But the layout, the menu system, Looks very similar to other Genesis models. You've got a ton of things that you can customize in the setup area. And one thing that I really appreciate is, aside from touching it, you have physical controls down here. If you want to quickly go to the radio, your map, whatever, the star you can have programmed to go to different things. I have it set up to go to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And Apple CarPlay, Android Auto are standard on here. The only thing is that you have to be wired in still. Genesis does not give us wireless CarPlay or Android Auto. Even though you have a wireless charging mat right there, you've got an extra USB port down there too. And here's your command controller. So you've got this knob with volume, tuning, power, a couple shortcuts down there. Then back from there is the shifter. Now, I've talked about this before. I wish that these were reversed, because if you ever have your arm down here or resting, obviously you should have it on the steering wheel, but this is kind of more of a natural spot than having to reach out. And you'll be using this more than the shifter, so ergonomically it makes sense to switch these two around. That's just me. What do you think? We get dual zone climate control in here up front as well, and your heated seats, ventilated seats, and heated steering wheel are integrated into the screen. It does give you some feedback when you touch it. You've got auto climate, you've got your own temperature slider right here. Everything is easy to use and nicely laid out. No complications there. I showed you this area down here. You can cover it up if you want. You've got good sized cup holders and this nice looking trim. I like this over like a glossy piano black. Drive mode button is right there. A camera, which I'll show you in a second, and parking sensors. So if we hit that camera, you've got a 360 camera, backup camera, or you can even look around the vehicle like this. So check this out. So when you're parking, you can literally move this around, see how you are in your lines. That's perfect. Coming back here, there's actually a little slot right here if you want to store your key in here or something like that. And then got a double opening armrest here. You've got soft material on it. You've got a moving tray right here that you can take out, and a 12-volt power outlet right there. Genesis also gives us a locking glove box down here, soft opening, and a soft liner. Automatic dimming rearview mirror right there. A nice looking overhead console area with these LED lights. These lights are not harsh, but they do a good job. Sunglass holder. And then this is not for a moonroof. We don't actually have a moonroof or sunroof in here. This is for a back sunshade. So you can control it from here, or you can control it from the back seat. Overhead, we also get this roof that has this nice micro suede type material on it. It's on the visors as well. And we've got sliders. All right, y'all, we're now behind the wheel in this Genesis. Let me quickly talk about the EV powertrain. So it's under the hood, and we don't have a front trunk. You just got the EV hardware under there. But you're gonna get a big lithium-ion battery, a couple electric motors, one at each axle, to give you 365 total horsepower, and it is all-wheel drive standard. You're also going to get 282 miles of range, and as far as charging goes, it comes with a level 1 charger. It's going to take a couple days to charge like that. Otherwise, you can do a level 2 charger and charge it up in about 7-ish hours. Or if you DC fast charge, the public charging for a fast charger, you can get almost 200 miles of range in 22 minutes. So that fast charging capability is great. That is better than most. And the range is good. It's certainly not class leading. It's not the best, but it is much better than some. In fact, that Lexus RZ that I was recently in was nowhere near that kind of range, down at 196 to 220. But behind the wheel, this car is so quiet. It's so smooth. It's just very pleasant to drive. Now, Genesis did not gear this to be an absolute burner 2-something second 0 to 60 car like a Tesla. It's still very fast. I mean, you're going to beat most cars if you race them, but it's geared towards comfort and efficiency and a great blend of features and driving dynamics. So without being completely sport oriented, it's still somewhat comfortable and efficient, and it's a great balance. Ride comfort can get in EVs with so much weight at the bottom, you can kind of get a little rocking type of sensation, and you get that sometimes in here, but not as bad as some. I feel like they've got it tuned pretty darn good. The weight of the steering, so the steering input is also good. It's not a super lightweight steering. It's a little bit on the heavier side, but it feels comfortable and it fits this car well. We've got a couple different things that I want to show you in just a little bit. I'll get you on sport mode in a second, but we do have a one pedal drive mode. You can customize that in there. You've got a few different categories of deceleration, which is what these paddles are for. So with some EVs, you have just a one pedal drive mode button. Some you can change the deceleration, which I'll talk about in a second. But let me put us in sport mode. The gauges will change and all-wheel drive. Let's go. And it grabs. You get a quick little chirp and we're up to 70 something miles an hour in a hurry. You can fly in this thing. Let's see how we corner. It corners well. It hugs the road well. It doesn't feel as sporty, but the bolsters can inflate. You can make those bolsters tighter, and with sport mode you can have them inflate like that, and it holds you in your seat pretty good, even just with a little bit of acceleration. It's just absolute, it's a silent killer. I mean, it just goes. Passing somebody is so effortless on the interstate, and getting going in town takes absolutely nothing. Now I'm gonna put us back in normal mode, or comfort mode I should say. So I have it set to be like a medium regeneration setting. So if I let off the accelerator and coast, it's gonna slow me down a little faster than as if I didn't have that on. Let me push this paddle. Now it's on the lightest setting. I could coast for a long time because there's no braking from the regeneration. Now if I hit this pedal, go up a notch, couple notches, few notches, and boom, now we're in one pedal drive mode. It's going to bring me to a stop without me pushing on the accelerator. To get going, you have to push on the accelerator, and if you let off the accelerator even a little bit, it's going to start slowing you down. So essentially, not accelerating means you're braking, or light acceleration means you're braking a little bit, and you can still stomp on it and get going in a heartbeat when you're in the one pedal drive mode. It's called I pedal from Genesis. Then if you want to get out of it, just push this regeneration or this paddle over here. The one thing that kind of bothers me with those is that, as far as I know, there's no indication of how much regeneration you are currently at. If you're at like a level 1, 2, 3, when you're on I pedal, one pedal driving, you can see that on there, but otherwise you can't. Now as far as day-to-day driving this, watch, I'm just coasting like a ton, just cruising along here with no regeneration. Now I put it in one pedal drive mode and it's slowing me down pretty quick. But as far as day-to-day driving in here, it's comfortable for the most part. I do have a couple little complaints with the seats. You'll have to rewind for that. We have good ergonomics down here. You can still touch the screen if you want to. You've got a controller right here. You have physical buttons. You've got a large display in front of you. So it's very easy to live with, and if you're used to other Genesis products and you want an EV now, it's just like those. I mean, it's just like them, except for the EV powertrain. But overall, road noise is good too. So we've got laminated glass right here. It's going to help with noise. Wind noise is great. Road noise is good. This had good ratings on both highway surfaces like this, a rough road, as well as smooth interstate high-speed roads too. So I'm very pleased with this Genesis. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. So to wrap things up on this G80 Electrified, I like it. I like the fact that it is still similar. It's like a classic luxury sedan that you're used to, but now it's electric, and it's got a pretty good range, and it's fun to drive, and it's quite zippy. On the flip side though, you are going to lose a little bit of passenger space, especially that headroom and some of the cargo space, so be sure to keep that in mind when you're shopping. But what do you think? Do you wish Genesis came out with a completely new, different EV sedan like this? Or are you glad that they kept it just like the regular gas G80? Leave your thoughts below, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's a nice EV. It's got pretty good range, it drives nice, and it's luxurious. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.